Hello, I'm Bob Ford, Artistic Director of TheatreSquared. We're here to talk about native gardens in continuation of our Spoiler Alert series. I'm sitting next to Rebecca Rivas, who is the director of Native Gardens. And so tell us about this play.
Well, it's a comedy, and it is about, it takes place in a neighborhood in DC, an affluent neighborhood of DC. A new family is moving in, a young couple. They are just about to have a baby, and they move into this lovely old fixer-upper in this really, really nice neighborhood, right? With and next door to this older couple who has been there for years and years and years. And of course, they do the usual thing when you're gonna live next. Well, sometimes, right? Like sometimes people move in and you never meet them ever. But not in this case. They want to be friends. The Butleys come over to the Del Valle house and they bring them wine and chocolate, and they welcome them to the neighborhood. They're super happy to have them there, and the Del Valle family realizes that, or rather they want to have this party, and they have just a really, really great, it's a backyard with potential. And so they go over to the Butley's house because there's just this really, really ugly chain fence that they would like to get rid of and put in a nice wood fence so that they can impress at the party. And so they go over, they say yes. It's a lovely time. And
the Butleys, the older couple, the older white couple,
yes,
we'll say, are actually thrilled because this chain link fence has been an eyesore for years.
Yes.
And
Frank has this beautiful garden, this gorgeous, really manicured, just like Versailles-esque garden.
And he is up for the big neighborhood gardening award.
Yes.
So
he's elated. He just is super happy that they're gonna take out that horrible chain link fence, put in the wood one. They have wonderful conversation. It's a lovely evening at the Butleys. They go home. The Valles they go home to their fixer-upper and they start getting ready to throw their fancy barbecue. And they get out the old tape measure and the plats for their property, and they find out some interesting things about where their property line is.
They basically own 2 more feet of property going into the where the Butleys' garden is.
Yes.
And mayhem ensues.
Yes.
Pablo is working at a white shoe law firm, and kind of looking down the line to partner.
Yes.
And that's what's at stake with this barbecue.
Yes.
But he also, when he discovers that they actually own more land than they thought, is interested in putting in the fence now that will claim that land.
Mm-hmm.
And
right, because it's worth a lot of money. I mean, we're talking like a really nice piece of real estate. I think he says it's $40,000, kind of rough estimate of what that is, and they rightfully own it. So he makes the argument to his wife Tanya, who is totally she wants to build this relationship with these people, and so she's happy to just kind of say, this is where we thought it was. Just leave it. But no, I think they both they realize that, it is ours, and if we're gonna spend the money to put in the fence, then we should put it in where it needs to go. So everybody just kind of starts. So they tell the Butleys, which doesn't go over well, and because the Butleys, of course, feel that they too own that land. They've been using it for a really long time. They've made it be something that was not quote unquote beautiful in their sense of the word. They made it beautiful by many standards. So they too feel like this true ownership of that space. So that kind of begins this argument between the two.
So you can see how this could go, tragedy or comedy, but it is definitely comedy because the stakes are so high and everyone has the best intentions.
Right.
Especially the Butleys, starting out with welcoming this couple.
Yeah.
And it goes very, very south in a wonderfully comic way because Karen Zacharias, who is a playwright, has set up these sort of polarities. One of which has to do with native gardens versus the garden that the Butleys have, where every single flower and plant is come from some other continent.
Yeah.
And the Tanya, who's a PhD student, is passionate about native gardening. So there's that. Mm-hmm. There's this young, up and coming professional couple moving into a more staid family. That polarity. There's the younger couple is Latinx, moving in next to this older kind of white, very white couple. And you can imagine there's a lot about language and, different interpretations of different words. And it's
and you see these kind
brilliantly written.
Really just layer after layer. And you see kind of, I always kind of, consider it like this because it becomes a war over a border. They about a line, right? A line drawn in the sand that everybody has decided belongs to one person, and it's this established line, and so they begin to fight over it. And it is a border war, but it's also kind of, I always think it's like sponsored by Martha Stewart collection because it's so light and lovely, and I think also it has this really kind of sitcom feel. Like I think of I Love Lucy a lot, in the way it's written and just
Dick Van Dyke Show, which actually is quoted and it comes up in the
they bring it up and so I think that it feels that way and that's how she deals with it and I think that's the purpose. I mean, that was why she wrote it, was that she wants people to see that you have to communicate, and I think that's what's so great about this is that when you're watching it and when I first read it, you hear the things that you've heard before people say that you have said with just the best of intentions, and then but it's taken in the wrong way. So then they try and the person you're talking to tries to rectify it with their best intentions, but that hits you the wrong way. So it just becomes this landslide of best intentions, and it's kind of funny to sit back and watch the landslide
of best intentions. Yes, that's a great
And I think that's, and so you as the audience get to watch, you shouldn't have said that word. You get to just kind of Sunday quarterback them.
At the same time, you're totally seeing yourself all over the place on the stage.
And it's really entertaining to watch them in these really just cringy moments of it just foot in mouth.